It's time for the Movin The Chains podcast. Your home for high school football coverage in the Palmetto State. Every team, every game, every week. And now your hosts, Kevin Thomas and John Epps.
Welcome in to Movin The Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. Jerel Hendricks on the boards, as always, here for our Week 2 preview show. John, we said last week on the show there was a bit of a slight week, not a ton of games, kind of hard to pick some big ones. This week is the exact opposite, a loaded slate. We could have had 7, 8, 9 games of the week. We've got rivalries galore across the state. Just an absolute packed Week 2 here, John.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, we're Week 2, and I feel like we have some monster games for some of these teams. Now, of course, we're out of region, but some of these games are Kona games of the week. Man, every single one of them, big time game, and could really, really set off whoever the winner of these games are for the rest of the year.
No doubt about it. As always, guys, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains. That's MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movinchains.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do our weekly preview show Tuesday nights, 7:15 p.m. We break down that week's games here on Facebook and YouTube. We have great coaches interviews, teams of the week, players of the week, all kinds of great stuff throughout the week coming out as well. So tune in for that on all of our platforms. Be sure to join us next week as well for Week 3, and be sure to chat as well. Engage with us. Tell your friends. Tell everybody about it. Let's talk some ball. But get your Movin The Chains merch right now. Some great hats. Richardson hats here. Gray front, black back, kind of a brown back. Got some other options as well with the black front. Check it out on our social media pages. You can email us, info@movinchains.com, or send us a DM on Facebook or Twitter, whatever you want to do. Reach out to us. Get your toboggans as well, a black or a gray. That winter weather is coming. You're going to be ready for it. Get you one of these right now. Get you a Movin The Chains sticker. They look great on your car, on your laptop, your water bottle, whatever it is. Order one of these as well. Support the boys. Really would love to see these, all across the state of different stadiums. Stick them on a stadium. We don't promote vandalism, but hey, put the sticker on there, all right? Support the boys. Make us look good. Get your shirts as well. T-shirts, we've got a black T-shirt, a gray T-shirt, a navy blue, or a pink, whatever fits your fancy. And also hoodies for the cold weather. Gray hoodie, white hoodie, kind of a stonish color. Lots of great stuff for you, John. High-quality merch as well. Order yours today. We'll ship it to you within the week. Really good stuff. And love to see you guys out wearing more of that as we go to games across the state. John, any final thoughts as we get ready for this week? Because, like we said, once we get going here, it's going to be nonstop through all 5 classes.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, Jerel, any shout-outs from you or from the chat before we get rolling here with our Kona games of the week?
Get your woolly cap is what I wanted to say. That's all I got. Let's go look at these Kona games of the week.
That's great, man. Well, support our sponsor, Kona. They bring you our games of the week each and every week. We've got 5 of the biggest games across the state. John, let's start here with a big 5A matchup. 2 undefeated teams that have maybe flown a little bit under the radar so far this season, and that's the Greenwood Eagles at 2-0, traveling to take on the Dorman Cavaliers, who are also 2-0. This was a tight ball game last year. Dorman winning 20-14. Greenwood demolished Beaufort last week, 48-8. Dorman took down a solid Catawba Ridge team, 30-7, in a landslide victory as well, John. What do you think about these two teams? Because these are two guys that, I think we thought were pretty good going into the season, and they have not disappointed so far, and they played maybe even better than I thought they would in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment as well. And, I'm impressed with Greenwood putting up as many points as they did last week in that first game. They were offensively was behind the defense, I feel like, last year. They had a good season, but they were really a defensive-minded team. And then you look at Dorman, boy, they've given up 7 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
They look really dirty on the defensive side of the football. And, this is a game where I think both teams are pretty good, whether they win or lose Friday. But whoever wins this game, that's going to be, if you take Dorman, for example, I think Dorman's going to win this game. If you start your season off with a shutout over at Serene Stadium in Greenville, you beat what we think is a pretty good Catawba Ridge team. You smoked them last week. And then if you beat a really good Greenwood team this Friday too, that's a really, really good looking 3-0 that can go up against anybody in the state right now, resume wise. Huge setting off point for either one of these teams. I like Dorman. I like the defense.
That Greenville win for Dorman, too, looks a lot better now after they turn around and smoke Riverside last week. A Greenville team that we didn't know what to expect from. They get blown out by Dorman week 0. They come back with a big win over Riverside. So that Greenville win is pretty nice for the Cavaliers as well. They're led by quarterback Meek Slidell. He has come in and played well for Coach Morse's bunch. Running back Nick Means last week, 16 for 131, 3 touchdowns, already 6 TDs on the season, John, for him in the tailback spot. Isaac Tate also 100-plus in a touchdown last week. Wide receiver Tregon Mickler had a big game for them. Defensively led by Contavian Anderson, the Clemson commit, the Super 75 player for us. I didn't have a chance to double-check these stats, but I had that they held Catawba Ridge to 105 yards of offense, including negative 28 rushing. Not be able to confirm that, but I saw that, so we'll take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. But on the Greenwood side, quarterback Tristan Lewis, South Carolina commit, Super 75 guy for us, 11 for 16, 125, 2 touchdowns through the air last week, another touchdown on the ground. Receiver Jay Duncan has played well for them. Defensively, Bryce Seymour and Demarion Rollman. And they did their own number on defense last week, John. Held Beaufort to 52 yards on 49 plays over at the Bab. So 2 teams that are playing really well on that side of the football. I expect a low-scoring game here, a lot of ground game, a lot of rushing attack, a quick game as well. I think that clock's going to keep moving here. It's tough here to go against the home team because Dorman has looked really good. They finished last season strong as well, I felt like. They've really built off of that. But Greenwood, you got a playmaker like Tristan Lewis at the quarterback spot. They become a very dangerous team. I think they've got a real chance to go in and win this football game.
Yeah, it's getting exciting. It's you got some really good talent on both sidelines for this game, and it's going to be one of those games where I think you're right. I could see it favoring more of a defensive game than an offensive explosion, but it's still going to be who can bust out and have more of those chunk plays, because that's probably what's going to be the separator. Who hits that big play or who hits that big play late?
Yeah, I think it maybe who is the supporting cast who can step up. For Greenwood, we know what Lewis can do, but can one of the running backs get going? Can a receiver get going? Something like that. For Dorman, we know Means is going to have a big game. Can the quarterback Slidell play well for them? Something like that. Really intrigued to see the Greenwood offense against the Dorman defense. We mentioned Tristan Lewis, the Carolina committed quarterback for Greenwood, really athletic, really electric playmaker. Contavian Anderson on defense for Dorman. Do they bring him up in the box, kind of maybe have him spy Lewis a little bit, because he is one of the few athletes on the field who can kind of match what Tristan can bring to the table on offense. I'm going to go Dorman at home in a close one. I think a similar score to last year, 28-21, 24-21 sounds about right, a lower scoring football game. I like the Cavs at home, but I think both these teams are really solid and can make deep runs this year. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on this undefeated 5A matchup here?
Man, this one's tough here, guys. I don't really know which way I'm leaning either. It's just been so difficult because these teams are so evenly matched. I think it's one of those things where it's like, is it going to be a big-time turnover? Is it going to be a special teams play? I feel like that's going to be what's going to separate here because you got two really hard-hitting defenses here, two programs that know how to win at a high level, and two teams that really played well last year down the stretch, and it looks like they've just carried that over. Some really good senior leadership as well, so it's really tough. You lean home team in these matchups, but just because you guys pick Dorman, I'm going to pick Greenwood just for funsies, man. Tristan Lewis going to score a late touchdown to win this one and break some hearts of some Cavs fans.
Should be an outstanding game, it sounds like. What's the chat saying about this one, Jerel, this big-time 5A game here? Brandon says Newberry at Clinton should be good. Yeah, that's what we'll talk about here in a little bit for sure. A big-time, rivalry matchup there should be a lot of fun. Zach says, good evening. Shock Clinton's not a game of the week. Should be a barn burner on Friday. Coach Campbell's defense held Lawrence to 92 yards of offense and a shutout on the scoreboard. Yeah, certainly a big game, Zach. We just had so many to choose from. It was hard to narrow it down to the few we wanted, but it's definitely one to break into. Courtney, good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you joining us. Doing well tonight. Hope you are too. Chris, good seeing you, man. The Indians are back. Big, nice win last week for that group there. Noah says, good evening. Welcome to us up from Pelzer. Rough Friday for Hillcrest. Yeah, surprising loss on the road to Clover. I like the Rams. Got homecoming this week. I was interested to see how they can bounce back for Coach Swigert. Chris, there should be a huge crowd at the pit. Strom, Thurman, Pillion, Ridge Spring, Gilbert, and Saluda all on bye this week. Yes, you may get a lot of visiting fans coming over to check out Batesburg-Leesville, Abbeville, since you got a lot of buys in that area. Great point there, Chris. Bradley, good seeing you, buddy. Thank you for joining us as always. Chris says Greenwood by 7. Certainly could see it. I don't think this is a blowout either way, John. I think it's going to be a close football game. Brandon says, give him Greenwood. Greenwood should be really good this year. I like him too. I really do. That group's fun there for Coach Liner. Hampton County in the house, says Terrence Grant. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. Hampton County off to a hot start as well for Coach Hanna. Bradley said it should be a great matchup. Wants to say Dorman, but G's tough call. Yes, same. I could go either way on this one too. A really tough game. Dion says 20-17 Greenwood. I like that close pick there, Dion. I think you're on to something. Zach says Tristan Lewis, the X factor that separates Greenwood winning this one. When you got an athlete like him, especially at the quarterback spot, he can certainly make the plays needed to win a game when it comes down to crunch time. Cameron says, go Gray Collegiate. They've got a great game against Marlboro County this week. We'll break down it a little bit. It should be a fun one. Appreciate you joining us, Kevron from Cope, as always. Strom Thurman in the building, says Bulldog. The boys, they BTA last week to Silver Bluff. laid the hammer down to those boys, man. Put up a 50-piece on them. Big win for them. Cody says, can the Bluff regroup after that tough loss? They're going to have to quickly. They got a couple big games down the stretch here they're going to need to get ready for. But that was a whooping put on by Coach Webb and the Rebels last week.
Yeah, everybody is kind of the same as we are, man. We think it's all going to be a one-score, very, very close game. And give Brandon a shout-out. I mean, I agree, Brandon. You're doing a great job here. But let's go into the next game, guys.
Great picture, Jerel. Oh, man. Our second Kona game of the week, a 2A, 1A matchup of undefeated teams, John. Barnwell, the Warhorses at 2-0, traveling to take on Bamberg-Ehrhardt, also at 2-0. Always a fun game between these two. Barnwell last year won 21-7. The Warhorses 32-8 over Williston Elko last week. Bamberg-Ehrhardt 53-6 over Buford. Barnwell has kind of changed their offense some from last year. Not going to throw it a ton with the new quarterback back there. Actually, I don't think they threw it any last week. They may have thrown no passes in that win over Williston Elko. Jaden Peoples, a sophomore running back, has looked really good so far. 8 for 185, 2 touchdowns last week. Nehemiah Brown, also 2 touchdowns on the ground. DeMaje DeVoe is a weapon on both sides of the ball. Henry Creech is a playmaker on defense for Coach Smith's bunch as well. Bamberg-Ehrhardt, new quarterback Brian McMillan has played really well for them. They got receiver Anthony Williams, receiver safety Marcus Cann, a Super 75 guy for us there, and then linebacker Jalen McGraw as well. John, in my notes here I've got written down, I feel like we don't know a ton about these teams yet, and that's how I feel. It's just, neither one has played the stiffest competition yet in the first couple weeks. They're both breaking in new quarterbacks, haven't had to do a ton yet to win these football games. This is a game that I think is kind of a toss-up, and we just don't know much yet because there's a lot of missing pieces that have got to be figured out for both these groups, it feels like.
Yeah, and I think both of them are playing great defensively, right out the gate. And I think we're going to see I think it's going to be another game where we're seeing a low-scoring affair. I think 20-7. I could see a repeat of what we saw last year. I think this is a tough one because it's really tough to go against Bamberg, and they're at home. But I'm just kind of toss up for me. I want to go with the bigger school. I want to go with the 2A. I want to go with Barnwell. I think they are, like you said, they're similar looking teams. We know the pedigree is there. We know the athletes are there on both sides of the ball. I'm just giving the slight edge to Barnwell though for the depth. A
game with teams that are coached by two of the best in the state, with Corey Crosby at Bamberg, Brian Smith at Barnwell. It probably will come. We know both teams have weapons, like you said. We know about Peoples and know about Williams and Can, and just which quarterback I think plays better. I think the Bamberg quarterback, Brian McMillan, will be asked to do a little bit more, probably just because the way their offense runs than what the Barnwell quarterback will be asked to do. Like you said, Bamberg-Ehrhardt at home that's a tough place to play. That's a tough team to pick against. I like their weapons out wide. I love Williams. I love Can. I think it's a low-scoring game. I'm thinking Bamberg-Ehrhardt may – I want to pick them, but it's just tough to do it. It's tough to do it. It's tough to do it because I love what Jaden Peoples has done for Barnwell. He's looked so good running the football. I'm going to stick Barnwell. Jaden Peoples on the ground gets it done for Coach Smith. I think the Warhorses win a close one on the road this week. Jerel, comments from you or the chat. This is one that, as you could hear there, tough pick for me.
I'll pull the trigger. I like the weapons. I like the weapons outside a little bit more. So I'm going to go with Bamberg in this one. Home field advantage. I mean, I'm kind of going against what I was saying about the last game, but I like Bamberg to win this one. Those are some big voids for Barnwell, over that they've had to replace from last year. And I just love the way that Bamberg's been able to get that offense going early in the season. So I think that's going to be the separator there. And again, I think it's another one. Chris says it here. I mean, you flip a quarter here, it's going to be very, very close. Another one score, 10-point type game.
No doubt about it. Both teams, it will be, you can say this about everybody we're going to talk about here, but I feel like these two teams will be much better week 7, 8, 9 once they get that quarterback spot, once they get some of those new guys filled in and just kind of playing up to their best ability. Considered a rivalry game? I would say so. I think, both pretty close in proximity. I would say this is certainly a rivalry between those two. Even though they are different size schools, should be a fun one. Dion says 21-14 Bamberg-Ehrhardt. I could see either team winning 21-14. That score line sounds about right there as well, Dion. I think you're on to something there for sure. Eddie says they play Bamberg in the Jamboree. Boys are big and look fantastic. That's one thing about Bamberg-Ehrhardt. They've always got size and athleticism, man. You think about back to the Ricky Sapp days, the obviously the Daquan Bowers days, all of those guys, Crosby. They've got so many studs go through that program. They always have a lot of talent. It's going to be tough to stop for anybody at that level. Rick said, no, we're talking about Irma this week, but them boys are hot. They are. Hey, we'll break it down a little bit. They got a big out-of-state team coming in, Ricky, man. Huge win for the Yellow Jackets. Big comeback last week. Enjoyed seeing those guys in person up at Nixon Field, man. Irma is the real deal again. Brandon says he's 50-50 on this one. He'll take Barnwell.
That's all we have on this game, guys. Let's go to the next one.
Perfect. Our third Kona game of the week. Another 2A, 1A battle, John. And that's Abbeville. The Panthers, off of a loss last week, are now 1-1. They traveled to the pit to take on the 1-0 Batesburg-Leesville Panthers. Last year, John, this is the game that really put Batesburg-Leesville on the map, it felt like. We had heard good things about them, but when they went over to Hyatt Stadium and beat Abbeville 37-35, we were like, wait a minute. These guys, they are for real. They can play some good football, and they have been playing great ever since that. Abbeville mentioned the tough loss last week, 36-22 to Powdersville, a game that was 16-all at one point. Kind of got away from them in the second half there. Batesburg-Leesville, a big 49-6 win over Wagner Sally. John, what do you see in this game? Is it more of the same as last year? Batesburg-Leesville wins again, or does Abbeville get some revenge in this matchup, you think?
I did not expect Abbeville to lose on Friday. That was really shocking to me, and especially to end up losing by 2 scores as well. That scares me a little bit with Abbeville. Now, let's think about who we're talking about here. The king of 1A right now.
Yeah.
So I think Abbeville is going to be fine no matter what happens on Friday. But I'm leaning Batesburg-Leesville. But what the Panthers, what scares me a little bit is Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know where the quarterback play is yet for the Panthers this year.
Mhm.
And I feel like a game like this against a team like Abbeville, you got to be able to throw the ball a little bit. You can't be one dimensional. And I'm be interested to see how that looks for Batesburg-Leesville. But they're at home too. I think they get it done at home. I think they win. I think they win again, which is, again, this is so crazy. I'm picking against Bamberg-Ehrhardt at home. I'm picking Abbeville to lose 2 games in a row. None of this makes any sense right now. But I'm going to lean with the Panthers at home.
Abbeville, they got running backs Darius Riley, Medarius Burton, Collins Brown, and J.D. Baylor. They did lose Jamarion Williams last week to an injury, which is a big loss from him at the running back spot. They had some turnover problems, which is really what hurt them. I think they had 3 turnovers last week to Powdersville, and that's kind of how they ended up losing that football game. They really put them behind the 8 ball there. So you got to clean that up for sure. It seems like Powdersville had their way passing the football last week, and I don't know if that's something that Batesburg-Leesville can really replicate with what they're doing with the new quarterback stepping in there. They're led by Amadre Savy Wooden, Super 75 guy, went 8 for 163, 3 touchdowns last week. They got athlete Katie Witt, who's all over the field for them. Offensive lineman James Sawyer is a great player. Defensively, you got Wooten and Gates and Corley, a senior-laden bunch, 23 seniors, which is a pretty good number for a 2A program, John. A lot of guys that have played a lot of football, a lot of guys that are used to winning now after last year for Coach Lawson. They're a good football team. I think Abbeville got to clean up the turnovers. Like, they have got to get them cleaned up, and I'm not sure if this is the week that will happen, especially with Williams out. I think Batesburg-Leesville at home wins this football game. Like you said, John, it's hard to pick against Abbeville against anybody, but I like what the Panthers are doing. I think they're a really good football team again. I think Batesburg-Leesville in a close one at home again over Abbeville. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on this Batesburg-Leesville-Abbeville matchup?
Yeah, super weird, John. I agree. Picking against Abbeville, I don't know if it feels comfortable at all. But I'm going Batesburg. I mean, really high on this team, especially after the season they had last year. But again, like you also said, John, quarterback play. Like, where are we going to be with that? Because, like Kevin mentioned, that's how Powdersville was able to separate in that game. Abbeville doesn't lose many. They definitely don't lose many, back-to-back weeks. So it's going to be tough. I'm going to stick with Batesburg-Leesville. Don't feel good about it, though. And Chris, I mean, I'm sorry. I just got to do it. It is what it is. So I think we're all going.
Jerel wants to be welcome at Sheely's, all right? Chris, he can't pick against him every time. Come on.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Let me throw some more comments.
Perfect. No, Jerel, take it back, says Chris. too late, Chris. He's on the Panthers too with us. Batesburg can't throw the ball. That's what worries me, Bulldog. I think, like we said, A-Town so susceptible to the pass. Batesburg-Leesville has not shown that yet this season, so we'll see. He's taking A-Town with the upset. But really, if Abbeville beats anybody, it's really an upset. I mean, they're that good. But should be a fun one. I think you're going to be there. I think, Bulldog. I saw that, so we'll see. Zach says he's got a feeling that Coach Nichols and the Panthers out for blood versus BL. Certainly could go on the road and get the win. No doubt about it, Zach. Could be a good point there. A-Town 38-28 revenge game, says Dion. Boys finna come in there teed off. After last week and last year, combo those two, they certainly will be ready to roll. Brand City's taking Batesburg-Leesville. Chris says Batesburg-Leesville by 20 plus.
Whoa, Chris.
Big game from Wooden if that happens, says Chris.
That's all we got on this game, guys. Let's go to the next one.
As always, guys, if you missed one of these games of the week, you can go back and check it out when the show is over. It'll be on Facebook and YouTube forever. We can all break it down. Go back and check that out later on. Our 4th Kona game of the week, a massive showdown. I saw some stats. Jerel and John, I believe it was Max Preps has this as a top 100 matchup, I think, with the way they do their rankings from across the country. So a really big game here. That's the Northwestern Trojans at 2-0, traveling over to the PD to take on the 2-0 South Florence Bruins. South Florence took down Somerville on the road in overtime, 22-21 last week, John. Somerville, a big win over who did Somerville beat last week? Stratford. No, that's not right. Sorry. Northwestern defeated. I have my notes wrong here, guys. I have my notes wrong. Sorry, it's early for me too. They defeated Ridgeview, a game they had to come back in there for Coach Walford's bunch, but big win for the Trojans. South Florence quarterback Messiah Jackson, 11 for 23, 113 and a touchdown. Also ran for 3 TDs in that game, including the game winner. in overtime. Running back Gabe McLaughlin. Receivers June Perkins, Malik Robinson, and Samaj Parker. Perkins has come in and been a difference maker for them. He's played really well for Coach Marlowe's bunch so far. Defensively, Terry Gordon last week, 11 tackles, 4 TFLs, and a sack. Willie Kennedy, 10 tackles. Amari Reeves, 2 picks. We know South Florence can always run the ball. And they can always play defense. They've done that so far this season, John. On the Northwestern side, quarterback Xavier Means, running back Quay Mobley, receiver Cam Vance, one of our players of the week, had 250-plus all-purpose yards last week, 3 receiving touchdowns, and a kickoff return. They needed all of that, and that went over Ridgeview. Love the offensive line. We talked about it. It might be the best one in the decade. They got a bunch of big boys up front that are playing good football. Defensively led by Tamarian Watkins. The defensive line gives me a little bit of worry this week, John, because, folks I've talked to, the defensive line, there's quick, but they're not big. And South Florence is big. So that worries me a little bit, but should be a fantastic football game all around.
Yeah, this is everything you asked for in an early matchup. You got 2 extremely well-run programs, well-coached programs, and I feel like both of these teams came into this year with a number of question marks, and not all of them are answered yet. But I think I'm really, really impressed with what the Bruins did last week, going down to Somerville. Did not expect them to win that game. Going down to Somerville, winning that game, like they did in that environment is so impressive. Getting to be at home this week, I tell you what, it's hard for me to pick against Northwestern, but I'm going to do it. I think the way South Florence prepares for big games like this, they're very ready, and they've seen the tape. They know what's gonna. The Northwestern defensive line, I think they're gonna have a pretty good answer. We've seen South Florence before. They're big. They can push you around a little bit. I'm not sure they're gonna push around Northwestern for 48 minutes, but I think they'll be able to establish the line of scrimmage offensively. And I think if they can do that, they can really control the football game, control the tempo, control the environment being at home as well. I like South Florence to win this game, but I think it's going to be a really, really close, low-scoring matchup.
That game last week was Northwestern 35-28 against Ridgeview. Sorry for not having that ready. But, yeah, it's going to be – it's almost like 2 contrasting styles, because we know obviously South Florence is big, physical. They want to run the ball. They want to milk the clock, all of that. Northwestern kind of wants to spread you out, make some big plays here and there, maybe go a little bit quick here and there. So which side is gonna win out? Because we've seen games like this. You think about the South Florence West Side matchups where the running attack has really worked well for South Florence in games like that. But then you think about 2 years ago where West Side slinging it around the yard side won as well. So tough to make that work. Last year Northwestern won this game 48-7. John. South Florence had not really figured out what they were yet. It was early on in the season. And these are 2 teams that I like a lot. There are not many teams that I would pick over either one of these teams in the state. These are 2 of probably the 5 best in the state, if not higher than that, honestly. So I think it just comes down to who can implement their will. If you're Northwestern, can you get a couple quick touchdowns, get out to a lead, make South Florence throw it a little bit and whatnot? Or if you're South Florence, can you really, get a stop or 2 and start leaning on that Northwestern offense or defense a little bit and kind of making them wear them out? We shall see. I think it's the revenge tour for South Florence this year, John. Last year they got beat by Somerville, went down there last week, got the win. They got hammered by Northwestern last year. I think they get them at home this year. I think they get the win. Nothing against either one of these groups. I think either one could certainly win a state title this year, if not both. I think they're both that good. So I don't think you can go wrong with the pick either way in this matchup. But I think we've just seen what Coach Marlowe does. I think them playing at home, playing his style of football, I think the Bruins get it done. Jerel, I know you're going to come in here and pick Northwestern because we both pick South Florence. I get that. But, I mean, I don't know how you decide who's going to win this football game. I don't know.
The big thing here, more than anything, picking the game, it's, again, another coin flip type game. I think we learned a lot more about Northwestern in this game than we learned about South Florence in the outcome here. Because Northwestern, goes to Spartanburg. That's more of like a South Florence style where they're going to try to run the ball, physical team, and they dominate those guys. And then last week, they struggle with Ridgeview, a team that's kind of like them, likes to throw the ball around the yard, spread it out. So I think this is going to teach us more about Northwestern than anything else. I'm going to take them just because I'm an idiot and I can't pick against Northwestern twice in 3 weeks. I'm just going to take Northwestern in this one. But of course, not going to be surprised if the Bruins win this. But the Bruins are built to win these games. Like, this is what they do. They win big games, and they definitely win big games against high-powered offenses that they can neutralize, play their style of offense, and really just grind down their opponent. So not going to be surprised if this one goes either way. Don't expect a blowout again, though.
I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Like, you look at it, Ridgeview, they had success throwing the ball last week. South Florence is not really made to replicate that against Northwestern. And then Northwestern, has not seen a defense like South Florence yet. I think Spartanburg's a really good defense. I think South Florence defense is probably better. But both teams have been tested already. West Florence and Somerville for South Florence are both really good matchups there. And then Northwestern playing Spartanburg or Ridgeview, 2 more top 10 teams. I mean, both these teams are locked and loaded for a deep run. Should be a fantastic ball game in Florence. I was very close to going to this one this weekend. I just didn't quite work out with the work schedule, but should be a fantastic one over there in Florence. Brandon says this one's tough. Give him Northwestern. Dion says 38-35. South Florence going to shoot out like they did against Westside. Certainly should be a fun matchup. Chris says Northwestern by 10. Brian says he'll take the Trojans. Jerel says Northwestern has got the edge by 7.
That is all that we have on this game here.
I am excited to another point here to see Northwestern new quarterback Xavier Means in this game. I think what he can do, this is going to show us a lot about him for the rest of the season. I think this is a big test for that group and Coach Walford's offense. So it'll be fun to follow that one. Our 5th Kona game of the week, our SCISA game of the week, John. Always a big SCISA matchup here, and that's Hammond traveling to Porter-Gaud. Hammond 2-0. Won a close one over Pinewood last week, 21-16. Freshman quarterback Cade Amell, 8 for 13. Running back Levi Meyer, 17 for 104 and a touchdown. Ben Mueller-Kaiser also went 6 for 130 and a touchdown. Defensively, led by Jordan Boston at DB, linebackers Bubba Alexander and Jackson Ross. They are really leading this group while the offense kind of figures it out over the next couple of weeks. Porter-Gaud lost a tough one, 13-7 to Savannah Country Day to move their record to 2-1 on the season. Quarterback Scott Tibbles, running back Jackson Shealy, receiver Wilson Yarborough. Last week was their first game under 46 points. They scored 46+ in their first 2. Defensively, Huck Nevin, Alan Chisholm, and Amir Chisholm lead the way there. Last season, John, we saw this matchup twice. Porter-Gaud lost in the regular season 28-15 to Hammond. Hammond then turned around and won again in the state title 28-21 in a thriller. Certainly a game we could see again down the road here in 4A SCISA. Who do you like in this matchup here, John?
I want to pick Porter-Gaud. You honored Savannah Country Day last week. I understand that's a really good program, right down to the wire with those guys. But I just can't. I'm picking against so many powerhouses this week. I can't pick against all of them. So I'm gonna have to roll with Hammond. I just trust them. They're the champs. They've played this game. They play this game every week. I think they win one. I think they win it on the road. It makes me a little bit tougher to pick them, but I think they find a way to get it done. I think we see another great ball game, another close ball game that probably comes down to the wire, though.
I think low scoring again. I think both offenses are still kind of trying to figure it out, especially the Hammond side. I think they had 8 starters to replace on that side of the football. They beat a good Christchurch team 2 weeks ago. They beat a good Pinewood Prep team last week. I think they scored 20 in the first game, 21 last week, so haven't really gotten it going offensively yet. And I think their defense is good enough to kind of hold Porter-Gaud's offense in check while they figure things out too. So I think Hammond on the road in a close one. I like what they've got with Alexander and Ross on that side of the football. I think they win it. But this is certainly a game, John. I think there's a good chance we see it again in the playoffs here, maybe for a state title. But I like the Skyhawks close here down in the Charleston area. Jerel, who do you like? What are the comments on this ball game?
Yeah, I mean, it's Hammond. You're going to pick Hammond until you don't pick Hammond. But most of the time, you're just going to do that. And that's no disrespect to Porter-Gaud. You saw last year two games played really close, including a state championship game. one of my favorite interviews we did this all season was Coach Neighbors there at Porter-Gaud. They're going to be a problem for Hammond, going forward. Like, this is not just a one-off type thing. I think in the years to come, he's going to have that thing really, really going. But Hammond, just right now, they're the big dog. Zach's perfectly spot on here. I mean, I don't think about the 21 plus, but they're the Dutch fork of SCISA. Yeah. And you really just can't pick against those guys.
Agreed. They're really good right now, man. Even when they're not playing their best on side of the football, they're still good enough to win. Dion says Porter-Gaud 21-7. Interesting there, Dion. Zach says you don't pick against Hammond. I'm trying to pick against Nick Saban, you get burned. Yeah, they are good, Zach. You're exactly right. The Skyhawks are always a tough out. Hi from Wilson says, Allie, good seeing you, Allie. Appreciate you joining us here as always.
Keep you guys on your toes. We got a good one here, so this will take us into the regular slate.
Where are the best hot dogs going to come from this year? Great question. So Jerel and I didn't get a hot dog last week in Duncan's. That was a problem at the Burns game. Couldn't get a hot dog. That was an issue. Some of the favorites we've had, obviously, Wren's really good. Greer's really good. I just don't know where we're going to go yet. It's tough to answer that question because not sure what schools we're going to be able to see, Kelly. But we've had a lot of good ones, John. We certainly have.
And I tell you what, I feel like my theory is your smaller schools, your 1, 2, and 3As typically have better concessions than the 4 and 5A.
More family oriented, not as not corporate style,
right? So I like the smaller schools, and I like as you get closer to the Low Country. They just have good food, They know what they're doing. So I don't know. I tell you what, who comes to mind though that has a really good dog? South Florence.
They do. Great point.
That's a memorable
That's
one.
a bigger school does it right too. So they do a good job over there.
It is.
They do a good job over there. But once again, our Kona games week, we have Greenwood at Dorman, Barnwell at Bamberg-Ehrhardt, Abbeville at Batesburg-Leesville, Northwestern at South Florence, and Hammond at Porter-Gaud. If you missed any of that discussion, you can check it out when the show is over. It'll be live here on Facebook and YouTube. You can go back and watch those 5 games we broke down there. A lot of fun breaking those down this week for our Kona games of the week. Jerel, let's shout out some friends of the program. Then we'll start going down the rest of the statewide slate from 5A down through SCISA.
Everyday life means everyday expenses. Spend smarter with a Founders Federal Credit Union credit card, offering you low rates and big rewards where it matters most. Enjoy all the benefits of saving while using your Founders Essential MasterCard. Make every swipe and tap count with smart rates, big rewards on select cards, and no balance transfer or annual fees. Because your money should go where you want it to. That's the power of Founders Federal Credit Union. Apply today at foundersfcu.com. Relax. You're with Founders.
With 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville, Carolina Orthopaedic and Neurosurgical Associates, Kona offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. Go to kona.care to learn more.
John, let's take a look at the 5A slate and go through the great slate, like I mentioned earlier, that we have all across the state in every class this week.
Yeah, we really do. We've got one game on Thursday. We got Ashley Ridge and Wando scheduled for Thursday night. And then once we flip over to Friday, we've got RB Stall going to Academic Magnet. Irmo, as you said, hosting Butler out of North Carolina on Friday.
Like we say every week, when an in-state team plays an out-of-state team, I'm all in on the in-state team. And I'm the same again this week. South Carolina has struggled a little bit in those cross-state matchups this year. So hopefully we can get a win from Irmo, a team that looked great against Burns last weekend. They haven't played their best yet. The offense coming along, defense haven't played their best. Coach Brand mentioned that after the game, but they keep finding ways to win, and I hope they do it again on Friday against that Butler group.
Yeah, and that's typically a really good program out of North Carolina, that Butler program. We'll see New Hanover, also a North Carolina school. They'll be hosting Carolina Forest. Clover, they're on the same track. They're going to go across the board. They're going to play Palisades.
Clover, they've played. I think they lost by a point to Julius Chambers in week 0. Big bounce back win over Hillcrest last week. Got another North Carolina school this week. Coach Woolbright's bunch. I hope they get a win for the state.
We talked about one of our Kona games of the week over in Florence. Northwestern travels to play South Florence. We've got Chapin hosting Spring Valley. Chapin looking for their first win of the season. Gaffney on the road going to Serene Stadium to play Greenville.
This game is a lot more interesting now than it was 2 weeks ago. Like we mentioned earlier, Greenville got dominated by Dorman back in week 0. They turned around last week and shut out a good Riverside team 28-0. Coach Watson made a couple changes on offense. New quarterback steps in. The Farrow kid plays well, gets 2 touchdowns for them last week. They've got the defense cooking right now. They shut down a really high-powered Riverside team last week, too. Great defensive performance. That's why they're one of our teams of the week. Gaffney bounced back from a tough loss to Independence with a big win over Jerel. A shutout win, 28-0 there. Javon Gilmore, Arkansas commit. We know what he brings to the table. Banks Boughton still getting some run at quarterback as well. The former Greenville quarterback now at Gaffney, he kind of comes in to runs the football some for them. Justin Dawkins has stepped up at running back with Jay McDowell out for them. The defense was Zion Ratchford and Dawkins in that group. They're playing great too for Coach Littlejohn. A fun game here. 2 of the better coaching staffs we'll see with Greenville and Gaffney getting after it. I like Gaffney on the road at Greenville, but this Greenville team flipped the script 180 last week from what I thought about them. I was really worried about that program this year, but now I feel pretty good. They could have a solid season.
Yeah, I tell you what, Coach Watson does a great job. He did a great job at JL Man, and then already having a pretty strong effect at Greenville too. We'll see Catawba Ridge hosting Chester. Sumter goes on the road to play Myrtle Beach.
Sumter, a team that I'm a little worried now, John. They got beat pretty handily by White Knoll, a White Knoll team that didn't have a whole lot for Camden back in week 0. That worries me a little bit now about Sumter. Myrtle Beach, a nice win last week over West Florence. Haven't really played the best, the best football yet. So we'll see how that shakes out there. It should be a fun matchup. Chris says Banks Boughton should be starting this week for Gaffney. I have not heard that. Interesting there. If they go that route for the Indians.
In the Midlands, we will see Westwood hosting Richland Northeast. Woodmont on the road against Pendleton.
Pendleton, another team that I can't figure out. They bounced back from a tough week 0 loss to beat a good Keenan team last week. Not sure what the Bulldogs are made of quite yet.
Certainly impressive win last week, though. We got North Myrtle Beach hosting West Brunswick from North Carolina. Rock Hill at home against Lancaster. Brooklyn Casey goes to White Knoll. Blythewood will be at home against Fort Mill. Wade Hampton will travel to Easley. We've got Hillcrest hosting Greer. Lexington at home against Midland Valley, a 2-0 Midland Valley team that looks pretty good.
What a comeback last week. I think they scored 20-something in the fourth quarter to come back and beat Blythewood. Coach Dorn's bunch is believing and playing good football right now. Lexington got handled pretty easily by North Augusta last week, it felt like. So we'll learn a lot about how good the Mustangs are and what they can do in that region by how they play this Lexington team this week. But they are hot right now, no doubt about it.
We'll see Ridgeview traveling to Dutch Fork. That's potentially a pretty good game there. Ridgeview looked really good last week.
And Ridgeview quarterback Trey Howard went out early in that ball game. They did a lot of that with the backup in. They've got tons of weapons with Best and Jennings and all those guys out wide there for Coach Howard. So we'll see what they can do, see what the quarterback spot has for them. Dutch Fork, a nice win over Spartanburg last week. So an intriguing matchup there. I think Dutch Fork still too much power on defense. Mario Anderson in the back ends play really good for that group.
We'll see River Bluff hosting Nation Ford. Malden goes to Fountain Inn. Socastee at home against Ainer. West Florence will go to Marion. Somebody in that game is going to get their first win of the season. St. James will go to Lucy Beckham. Indian Land at home against Andrew Jackson. Chapman goes on the road to Boiling Springs.
Interesting matchup there. Chapman, an 0-2 team that needs to look good in this matchup. Lost a tough one to St. Joe's last week. Thought they were going to win that football game. Boiling Springs, took an L to Malden, a Malden team that I think is better. I know he's getting overstated. I think they're an improving group there for Coach Cook. But interesting, two teams I still haven't gotten a good handle on yet. It feels like they're in that matchup.
Yeah. And two programs you like to see playing good football. We'll see when Chapman's able to turn around. Don't think it's going to be on Friday, though, but we'll see. Christ Church will be at home against Riverside. Cane Bay is at home against West Ashley. Darlington, a 2-0 Darlington team, will head over and play Lugoff Elgin.
And Darlington's beat a couple good teams. They beat Lamar, a smaller school in week 0, but they came back and beat a larger North Myrtle Beach last week. Playing good football there for Coach Johnson. Jalen Augustus, the quarterback's playing great. Christian Charles on defense is a big-time linebacker for them. Playing good football. John Lugoff Elgin, as you know, big win back in week 0 over Lower Richland. they hung in there with Camden last week. I think they're a good football team as well. I like the Sadiq kid out wide. They've got some weapons there as well for Coach Littlejohn.
Yeah, and they've got some senior leadership this year, and that's something that's been lacking from that Lugoff Elgin program last few years. We'll see James Island go on the road to Goose Creek. West Side at home against TL Hanna, that big Anderson rivalry. There's
a rivalry there, and it's weird too because both these teams, we saw them lose back in week 0, and they both get a bye in week 1. So just kind of odd how that is set up there. We'll find out a lot about TL Hanna. They did not play well against Burns. It felt like the Rebels really shut down that rushing attack pretty well. West Side, it's hard to say about them because I just don't know enough about Vestavia Hills they play. I don't know if that's a good team, or I assume it's a good team in Alabama. I don't know. But a lot of new pieces there for West Side. They have had the upper hand of that rivalry the last couple of years. It feels like the Rams have. So I think Coach Lane will have his bunch ready to roll. Travis says big rivalry game. Should see what they have against area teams. Week 0 was our out-of-state matchup. Teams should have a better matchup Friday. Westside 21-17, says Travis. I'm thinking maybe a little more high scoring than that in this game here, Travis, but it should be a fun one over in Anderson County.
Spartanburg looking for their first win at home against Broome. Also, one of our Kona games of the week, we got Greenwood going to Dorman. That'll be an awesome game there. This one, almost a game of the week as well. Somerville trying to bounce back at home against Berkeley. That's a tough bounce back game.
Really intrigued by this one. Somerville, we mentioned, lost a tough overtime game to South Florence last week. That was a short week too. They had to play Stratford that Monday and turn around and play on Friday. Played well enough to win, just didn't quite make it happen there. Berkeley, a big win over Winter Park out of Florida. High scoring affair there. Henry Rivers goes off for that bunch. I believe this is the Low Country's oldest rivalry, they say. So a great game. We've seen this game, I think, in the playoffs last couple years, or a couple years back as well. So a fun matchup. Coach Rafferty and Coach Lodge going out. I believe that's a game I'm going to be at on Friday. So it should be a fun one down there at John McKissick Field. 2 really good programs getting after it.
Yeah, that's going to be great to see. Daniel will be hosting JL Man. Jerel is at home against Conway. And then wrapping up 5A, Fort Dorchester going to Stratford.
Fort Dorchester, maybe a bit of a surprise at 2-0. I think they beat Goose Creek and Buford, I believe, so far. So not the biggest wins, but they haven't taken an L. So that's going to be something's got to be said for that. But then one game back from that, John, Conway and Jerel. Conway, a team that needs a win in the worst way. I know they had some higher expectations this year than the last couple of years, but they've not started off super well. Jerel, a team that gave Marlboro County a scare last week. Stepped up in class and played well against the Bulldogs. They lost by 7, 28-21. We know Jerel is a good 2A football team. If Conway loses this week, I think Conway is in big trouble. So we'll see how this one shakes out on Friday night.
Yeah, it's tough to be in this position here in week 2, but that's football. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, Jerel, comments from you or the chat on the 5A slate this week. Midland Valley quarterback Jeter is nice, says Dion. Yeah, he was our player of the week back in week 0. Has had a great start of the season. Midland Valley 28-14, says Dion. Chris says could be another overtime game like when Greenville rolled in the reservation last year. I don't know because Greenville's a bit of an enigma right now, Chris. You look so bad in week 0, so good in week 1. And then Gaffney, I feel like you guys, you really got it going a little better last week, it felt like, against JL Man. So I think Gaffney's the better football team, but Greenville is certainly playing good football. Lakeview in the chat says, Jalen, appreciate you, Jalen. Lakeview 2-0, beat a couple bigger schools so far, playing good football right now. A top 5 1A team for sure. Appreciate you joining us. Wolfman says North Augusta looks legit right now. Defense is really good. They are. They got some really good guys on. I think Simeon Jones on the defensive line is playing great for Coach Bush there. They're a real football team. Justin says, what's up with Carolina Forest? Good or Hartsville that bad? I think Hartsville's good. Hartsville has got a lot of pieces to replace in the weapons, running back, quarterback, got some new guys in there. I think they'll be a lot better. They're not quite there yet. Carolina Forest, I feel like, always starts off really hot. They have a great run game with Jaron Fox, a great rushing attack, great offensive attack in general for Coach Morris there. I think Carolina Forest is good. I think Hartsville's going to get a lot better, if that makes sense. But big win there for the Panthers back in week 1.
Yeah, I think that's more indicative of Carolina Forest being good.
Ryan says, go Indians. Banks Boughton going back to Greenville. Yeah, interesting for sure. Banks at Greenville left to go to Georgia school for a little bit and then came back to Gaffney now. Patrick says Banks. Travis says Vestavia Hills beat the number 1 team in Alabama on Friday. Oh, wow. So they are legit then. Okay. Thank you for the update, Travis. Like, I don't follow Alabama football that closely, so appreciate the notes there.
And I shouldn't put this up there, but I just have to, just because it's John. It's
Cedric says blah, blah, blah. Lugoff River Rats are trash. LOL. Oh, my gosh.
Who let them in here?
Those are fighting words, John. Oh, man.
Let's go down to 4A, guys.
Let's look now at the 4A slate, John. Lots of good football there this week as well.
Yeah, we've got AC Floor heading to Southside Christian, a really good AC Floor team.
An intriguing matchup there. Not sure how this one came about getting scheduled, but AC Floor has looked good. Southside Christian still searching for that first win for Coach Guess.
Yeah, we got to watch AC Floor in that week 0 matchup. A lot of weapons.
Offense looked really good. Yeah.
Bluffton will be at home against Savannah Country Day. South Aiken at home against North Augusta.
North Augusta playing great football right now. We just mentioned it a second ago. They're looking really good on both sides, especially that defense has really played well for Coach Bush's group. Let me get this name. I'll make sure I say this name right here. Yeah, Simeon Jones and Davion McKinnis, defensive line, are playing great. We know what Gaston on the offensive line does. We know what Michael Doe will do in the backfield. I think North Augusta wins again. And let me double check this. That's a region matchup, right? Yes, it is. So we're getting region play getting going early here in Region 4. I guess because they got extra teams. I don't know. But that's an interesting matchup here to get a region game going already in week 2.
We'll see Lake City at home against May River. Travelers Rest going on the road against Palmetto. Hanahan on the road against Bishop England. A little bit of a rivalry game there.
It is a good matchup last season between those two. I know Jerel was at that one. Hanahan had a really good shot last week to beat a bigger school. Couldn't quite come away with the win late. The quarterback has played good for that group for Coach Turner's bunch. Bishop England, I keep beating it. I think they're better than last year. Mahoney and Baylog on offense do a really good job there for Coach Hall. I think Bishop England a little too much firepower at home in this one, but should be a fun matchup down there in the Low Country.
For sure. Pickens at home against Liberty. 2-0 Seneca going to a 2-0 West Oak team.
I saw a stat, and I forgot it now, but West Oak is 2-0 for the first time in, I want to say, like 20-something years. Right. Crazy. So Brandon says, watch out for Seneca. Beat Powder by 3 touchdowns and Woodmont by 49-7. Yeah, Seneca's played good football this year. They started off hot for sure.
Yeah, for Seneca, it comes down to one thing. What can you do against Daniel?
Yeah. Yeah.
That has been their big bugaboo last few years. We'll see Dixie at home against Southside. Woodruff on the road against Emerald.
2 2-0 teams there. And an Emerald team that has got 2 nice wins, have not played the biggest of competition yet. Woodruff has had 2 tough games with Clinton and Fountain Inn. I think Woodruff a little more battle-tested right now. I think Aiden Gibson has a big game. I think the Wolverines go on the road and win that one.
Yeah, I like Woodruff in that one. Dillon at home against Wilson.
I believe I saw where Dillon, the freshman quarterback, Kale Sam Fonctalia, may have set the half passing yards. I think he had 300-plus yards in the first half last week. Maybe a Dillon record. I'm not seeing that confirmed or not, but the Wildcats bounced back with a nice win last week.
It's pretty impressive. Powdersville will be at home against Wren.
That's a fun rivalry there. 2 teams that always have good matchups. Wren has looked really good so far offensively and defensively. Powdersville, the big bounce back win over Abbeville last week. Should be a fun between Coach Freight and Coach Mustard's bunch there.
Here's 2 teams that are looking for their first win that's a little bit surprising here. Beaufort 0-2 hosting Phillips Simmons, also 0-2.
Beaufort got handled by Greenwood last week. I mentioned that earlier. A lot of injuries. They lost their quarterback and they lost their tailback last week. Not sure who's back, who's not back. But I think Phillips Simmons has a real chance to go up a couple classes and get a win here. But keep an eye on that one on Friday.
Would be an impressive win. Marlboro County at home against Gray.
This game intrigues me a lot, John. A Gray collegiate team that I was surprised by their performance down at James Island a couple weeks ago. Weren't really in that football game. They couldn't get it going offensively at all. And I like pieces there too. I like the Waller kid at quarterback. I like Trayvon Williamson at running back. I like Gant out wide for them. Offense couldn't get it figured out. Marlboro County, like Anthony says, great defensive line. 3 studs there with I say this every week. I keep forgetting their names every week. It's Jaden Ash, Caden Walton, PJ Williams. really good up front. Trey Blakeney at quarterback is a good player on offense for them. I just worry a little bit about Gray's offense. I think it's kind of a get-right game, hopefully, then where they put up some kind of points in this one. But should be a fun one. I'm going to go Gray Collegiate tight here on the road. I think it's a really good game between two pretty good football teams.
Now, here's something that's exciting here. We've got Aiken at 2-0.
Yes.
Hosting Hilton Head on Friday night.
The Fighting Hornets, man, are playing good football for Coach Hibbets. I know they have not beaten a great team yet with wins over Aiken and Airport and Ainer. But this is their chance here. Hilton Head is always solid there for Coach Payne. This will be a game we'll really learn a lot more about that Aiken group.
Great rivalry game here. Camden will travel to Hartsville. Hartsville trying to get off the map after that tough loss to Carolina Forest.
Yeah, we were looking it up pre-show. I think it's that they played this game 100-plus times now between these two, the longest rivalry in the state. Always a fantastic football game. Coach Calabrese at Hartsville does a great job. Coach Rempt at Camden does a great job as well. I like Hartsville at home because they're at home. Kellytown, a tough place to play. I think they're going to bounce back. Better performance than last week. I'm expecting that at Hartsville. I think they win this game, but should be a really tight four-quarter football game on Friday.
And I'm impressed with Camden so far.
Yeah.
I picked them to win against White Knoll, but I thought it was a little bit of an upset. They took care of business last week, but this team could be a lot better team than I gave them credit for in the preseason. This is a big one right here if they could win it. Blue Ridge, they'll be at home against Polk County out of North Carolina. York is at home against Union.
Somebody's getting a win there, John. 2-0-2 teams there. Somebody gets off the slide.
Kingstree at home against Crestwood. Airport travels to Orangeburg-Wilkinson. We've got South Point taking on West Charlotte. Berea is at home against Carolina High. Dreer at home against Lakewood. Lawrence at home against Belton Honeypath.
John, I'm not sure if a team has looked better than BHP has in the first couple weeks. The Bears have played really good football. 2 big wins over Broome and Greer. They played great so far, answering all the questions that everybody had about them this season. Courtney says they're going 3-0. I think they are. Lawrence is not really up to Coach Porter standards yet. He's still building that program. That BHP team is for real, playing good football right now.
Yeah, they have answered a lot of questions very, very well so far. And then to round out 4A, we'll have Colleton County hosting Lower Richland.
Jerel, any comments from you or the chat on the 4A slate here in week 2? Fort D Stratford. That's an interesting matchup there. Like I said, Fort D is 2-0, have not played the best competition. I think Stratford coming off that big win against Daniel. Even more impressive, it was at Daniel, and it was on a short week, too. I think the Knights with Jake and Davis, Malik McGowan, I think that bunch for Coach McDaniel is ready to roll. I think that Stratford gets a second win. I think they hand Fort D their first loss of the season. Brandon says BHP easily over Lawrence. Clinton was beating Lawrence 44-0 at halftime. Yeah, Lawrence is not a good football team right now. They are working on it, but they are not quite there yet. Deshandra says big Camden over everyone. Another team, John, that is hard to pick against. Tobacco stocks are down. Go Camden, says Cedric. That'll be a fun matchup there. 2 teams that always play good football games against each other, it feels like. So it should be a lot of fun. Chris said, when's the last time we heard Aiken undefeated? It's been years. It's been a few years. Chris. Great point there. Aiken's going 3-0, says Dion. 35-10 over Hilton Head. He's predicting. Charles says Ren Hurricanes big Montu Brown at running back. Montu had a huge game for them. I think 3 touchdowns, 100, maybe 80-ish yards last week. One of our Player of the Week nominees for Coach Freight, a guy who just started playing running back a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, has really stepped in and played well for that Hurricane bunch. Ren over Powdersville 35-17, says Brandon.
Be a nice win.
Jessica says Camden, go Dogs. Cedric says let's go big Camden. Speaking of Camden, Hartsville, and great hot dogs, Kellytown, fantastic hot dog over there at Kellytown. Get one there for sure. Zach says West Oak is 2-0. Who they played? I don't know, Zach. I'm not sure, but they are 2-0. They are 2-0.
Speaking of hot dogs, Hartsville, great hot dog. Camden, when we went there, not a good hot dog. Rough.
Yes, agreed. Yes. Camden folks, get the hot dogs figured out there. You get that figured out. Kelly mentions Bishop England. Like I said, I think they're in, a good football team this year. I think they're better than last year. Always a fun game with hand. I think they win this one. I think Mahoney and Baylog are too much. Coach Hall's bunch is in for a nice season, I believe. I like Bishop England. North Augusta 48-7, says Dion. Fred says West Charlotte at South Point, huge University of South Carolina. Yeah, I'm not familiar with West Charlotte. Are you, Jerel or John? I don't know a lot about that group there.
So, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the programs that I want to say Coach Knotts was at. This is a big-time program, West Charlotte. I think he was there before Independence.
Okay.
But West Charlotte is one of the better programs, especially in Charlotte. I think they won the state title last year. They're a very good program. This is going to be a great, great matchup. I don't know who's scheduling for South Point, but it's
not
rough.
been easy.
AD is not setting them up for an easy, non-reach.
Coach Richardson, what are you doing? Come on over there. And if we got any South Point folks in here too, I'd love to hear. I believe Currents played quarterback again last week for South Point, and that went over Rock Hill. Not sure the situation there. If they're going to look at going back to McMillan or stick with Currents, I don't know what's going on there. But it was a nice bounce back win over the Bearcats for Coach Colin Stallions last Friday night. Derek says, what's up, fellas? Got Powdersville with the upset at Wren. The air game is getting better every week. Got to get the run going some to get that win. Yeah, didn't get the run game going last week. It didn't seem like, though, Derek. But, yeah, like you said, Kagan Reed and that group, Tavius Williams, big game from them through the air. I like this Powdersville bunch. I like the Wren team a lot as well. Should be a fun matchup on Friday.
Good to see Derek in here. He's been a long-time supporter of us, so good to see him and Powdersville. That was a big-time win for those guys. Should be a good one. Fred's actually got another comment about West Charlotte. So,
with the 3A, they're 8A this year.
Whoa.
I don't understand how the A's work.
How that works. Yeah, that's a big jump.
They are good. They're a good football team, Fred. Thank you for letting us know. That's what I got out of that for sure.
But speaking of 3A, let's go down to 3A, guys.
Let's look down to the 3A ranks now, John, and break down that class.
Starting in Fox Creek, they will take on Glen Hills. I'm guessing that's a squad out of Georgia. Not familiar with Glen Hills. South Columbus, that is a North Carolina school. That I do know. Loris will be headed there on Friday night.
The Lions, you guys know, I've been high on the Lions last couple of years, and I'll say this to Loris, they have stepped up their hype video and hype photo game this year too. Some great stuff on social media. I saw Jacoby and Grim Lewis with a great video with some Michael Jackson Thriller behind it, I believe it was the other day. Looked great. It wasn't. Maybe it was. I don't know. It was a Michael Jackson song. I'm pretty sure it's Thriller. I have to go listen to it again. But they've done a great job with social media this year for the Lions, and that's a team that deserves it. I think they're really good again this season.
Yeah, good start for sure. Hampton County will be at home against Silver Bluff, a Silver Bluff team that needs to bounce back big time. I don't think it happens Friday.
Yeah, I like this Hampton County bunch. Silver Bluff, I picked Strom Thurmond to win that football game last week, but I did not think it'd be 50-0 or whatever it was. That was quite a beat down by Coach Webb's bunch. I think Hampton County, like I said, I think Hampton County beats them. Silver Bluff, that was abysmal performance last Friday. They need to show me something this week for sure.
Socastee, they are at home against Aner. Swansea on the road against Wagner Sally. Mountain View, they'll be hosting St. Joseph's. That's a pretty big 2-0 game right there for those two programs.
St. Joe's a nice win over Chapman last week. I think they're much improved. I think we said it in the preseason, John. We expected all three of the private schools to be better this year, Southside Christian, Christchurch, and St. Joe's. And I think this will show a lot here. I think MVP a little bit better. I think I like what they're doing there at the quarterback spot. He's played really well for them, along with Katie Hainsworth out wide. Defenses play great. I think MVP is a better football team right now, but I think St. Joe's can, somewhat hang around for a little while on that one.
Yeah. Great matchup we've got here. Clinton hosting Newberry, a Newberry team that started off really well, 2-0 on their start of their season. That's going to be a fun game right there.
Newberry's first real test. The quarterback, Kenton Caldwell, I think has had 7 touchdowns in week 0, may have had another 4 or 5 last week, I believe it was. He's played great football for them. The lefty dual threat guy. We know Jamel Howes. We know those guys, Crooks out wide for them. They've got tons of athletes there for Coach Jeter. Defensively, this will be a good test for them. Coach Fountain's bunch at Clinton always can, do some things, kind of get you off schedule and kind of throw you off a little bit and kind of catch you off guard with the game plan there. Cook and Butler and Cromer there running behind Trey Aiken. I think they'll score some points for Clinton this week. I do. It's just, can Newberry get enough stops? And the same thing for, can Clinton get enough stops? We might see a lot of points in this one here, John, on Friday night.
Yeah, that'll be a fun game there.
Dion says 49-35 Newberry. I'm thinking high scoring as well, Dion. Going to be a lot of fun. If you want to see some points, it's a good one. Rivalry game, winner gets a belt, says Zach.
Cool.
I love that. Let's get the belt going. I think it's a game where if you're Newberry and everybody has talked you up, you're a highly ranked team. People are saying, hey, they're a real threat to go deep in 3A playoffs, maybe win state. This is the game you got to really show it. Like, you beat a couple smaller a couple of teams that aren't on your level the first couple of weeks. This is the game you got to really stamp it and say, hey, we're the real deal. We'll see if they can do it or not on Friday.
100%. Johnsonville will be hosting Georgetown. Keenan on the road against Battery Creek. Baptist Hill will be hosting North Charleston. Orangeburg-Wilkinson at home against Airport. Let's see some repeats here. We have Chesney going to Walhalla.
Chesney, a surprising loser last week. I thought they were going to win that football game. Brown said had a chance to win on a 2-point conversion overtime game, which is a little bit short. Walhalla, wrong place, wrong time in week 2. Brian, I like what Chesney's doing there for Coach Chappell. A lot of playmakers there. I think the Eagles have a good chance to win this game and get back on the right side this week.
And our last game in 3A, Oceanside, an 0-2 Oceanside team. They're still a really good team, but they'll be hosting Savannah Christian on Friday night.
Yeah, this feels almost like a couple years ago, John, where Dutch Fork started off really slow, and we're like, oh, is Dutch Fork going to get their first win this week? You're like, when's it going to finally come? Similar to Ocean, we know Oceanside's really good, and they just keep playing really tough teams so far. So we'll see what happens this week for the Land Sharks. But either way, I'm very high on Coach LaPrad's bunch down there at Oceanside. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on the 3A slate. Matthew says MVP. Playing great football right now. Got another good test this week against St. Joe's. Brandon says Clinton barely got by Newberry last year, 23-14. It was a great football game. I'm expecting more points this season. Randy says Mountain View over St. Joe's by 2 touchdowns. That sounds about right. I think, St. Joe's hangs around, but I think MVP, the Stars, too much firepower. MVP 31-17 says Dion.
Close game.
Swansea by 4 against Wagner Sally, says Election. Yeah. Swansea's playing good football for Coach Fox right now. Wagner Sally took it on the chin against Batesburg-Leesville and do it again this week. Fox Creek 49-0 over Glen Hill, says Dion.
I think that's all we have on the. Oh, got one more score prediction.
Southside Christian 21-20 over AC Flora. That would be a surprise.
That would be big
if we get that.
Yeah, before we go, all the Camden fans telling us to try other foods. That's just not a good look.
What else?
Said the chicken finger. Said we got bad dogs.
Didn't I almost get like a shrimp or something?
I'm glad you didn't, based on the hot dog. So
so here was the Camden fans. Here's the real problem. So we get the hot dog. It's a couple years. My head's a little foggy about it. We get the hot dog, wasn't great, but they give us chili in like a cup, and you could see the beans.
And it was transferred from a can, probably
like congealed.
Not a good look. Not a good look.
Just sour the whole experience. I will try it again, no doubt about it. I will go back to Camden. I'll go back to Zemp Stadium, try it again. But that time was not good. Randy said Christchurch big test against Riverside. Dolphins can pull through. Yeah, a Riverside team that will be angry after getting up shut out last week. Christchurch, the nice bounce back win over Anderson. Big game from Michael Martin. I'm looking forward to seeing Ant Atkins at DB for Christchurch against Samad Edie, the Riverside wide receiver, the Wake Forest DB commit actually there. 2 really good athletes going after it. Will be a fun game. Like you mentioned, Christchurch got to get the offense rolling a little bit, got to get the quarterback play a little bit better. It should be a fun matchup there between a couple bigger schools.
We're going to thank some friends of the program and keep it rolling, guys.
Let's do it.
Founders Federal Credit Union means banking made for you. The on the go, the pick up and go, and the I want to go. Because at Founders, we give you the financial tools that make every dollar work for you. For the little things to the big things. For your future and your peace of mind. We'll always stay grounded in our roots, but reaching beyond what you'd expect is where we'll always go. Find out what our members already know and enjoy a new way to bank. Relax, you're with Founders.
Home services. your sewer drain clearing with Preferred Home Services today. If we can't clear it, it's free.
Electrical, plumbing, cooling too.
Go, 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 Preferred!
Looking for top-notch sports gear and uniforms? Look no further than First Team Sports. With 30 years of serving the Carolinas, First Team Sports is your local full-service dealer. From youth teams to colleges, we've got you covered with team uniforms, staff apparel, Letterman jackets, sports equipment, and facility branding. Visit our local store in Greenville or firstteamsc.com. Make First Team your first choice. John, let's look now at the 2A slate here in Week 2.
Yeah, big-time matchup to lead it off in 2A. Have Manning at home against Lake Marion.
Manning, a surprising 0-2 after last week. Interesting to see if Coach Kennedy's bunch get on the right side this week.
Mullins at home against Green Sea Floyds.
Mullins, another team that lost a game to Lakeview. I thought they had a good chance to win, but the Wild Gators, big win for them.
Yeah, Lakeview's very good. I think Mullins is still going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Buford at home against Highland Tech. I don't know anything about Highland Tech, where they are, who they are. But Buford's got them at home. Burke will be at home against Denmark Olar. Hardyville at home against East Clarendon.
East Clarendon are playing good football right now. I like what that group is doing. I think they moved to 3-0 this week.
One of our kind of games of the week here, Abbeville on the road against Batesburg-Leesville. We talk about that game. That's going to be a great game. Go back to the front of the program to check out that breakdown. Blacksburg, they're going to be on the road playing Chase High School. I'm guessing that's a program out of North Carolina.
Yes.
We've got Whale Branch. They are on the road against Ridgeland. Woodland at home against Bethune-Bowman. We've got Louisville on the road against Atlantic Collegiate.
A nice win for the Lions over HKT last week, a team that people were pretty high on, that Trojans bunch there. Louisville didn't play their best, kind of sloppy, but they got a nice win. Like that for Coach Usher's bunch. I think they're in for a nice deep run again here in 1A this year.
Yeah, they needed that Friday. That was a game that they could have lost. That's a good Hunter Kinder Tyler team. That was good for them to hang on and get that win. Two teams that need a win. Blackville Hilda hosting 96. Both of those teams 0-2 out the gate. Lee Central on the road against Chesterfield. Cross, 2-0 Cross, hosting a 2-0 Timberland team. That'll be a pretty good game there.
Yeah, Timberland, a big win over Lake City last week. Cross, has not played the toughest competition so far. Caden Ramsey and that group there is really good. Intrigued to see, two of the better prospects in the state, Desmond Green there at Timberland, Caden Ramsey at Cross. Going to be a lot of fun to watch that one, John. You don't know if Cross quite has the depth they need really to hang around. That's gonna be the question to see. But when you got a star like Ramsey, anything's possible. I think Trojans have a real chance to win this football game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really competitive, very close ball game.
And one more shout out too. I want to shout out Chesterfield, Coach Dixon getting his first win last week there. The alum, love to see that there for the Rams. Big win for him. They got a tough matchup with Lee Central there for Coach Danner. Had a big win last week as well.
Indiana will be at home against Andrew Jackson. We've got Columbia going to North Central. Edisto on the road against Calhoun County. Whitmire will travel to Mid-Carolina.
A 2-0 Whitmire team as well, John.
Yeah. Central of Pageland hosting Lamar. That could be a big-time ball game right there, too.
I'm excited for this. Last year, this is kind of when Central kind of jumped on the scene. They beat Lamar. I know they're a bigger school, but still that was a surprise last year. I think Lamar, for Coach Boyd, they get their first win last week. This will tell us a lot about – I think we know Lamar is good. I think I was like, hey, they're always good in 1A. I think we'll learn a lot more about Central this week. If Central wins this game, we're like, all right, they're good again. If they lose, all bets are off.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Carvers Bay on the road against Andrews.
The Bears are hot, John. The Bears are hot. Playing good football there for Coach Richard.
Landrum on the road against Ware Shoals. Two teams that are 2-0 there in that matchup.
Another team, Ware Shoals, has been a bit of a surprise so far this season. Great win last week. I believe it was a last-second win, too, if I'm not mistaken. A 36-28 win over 96. Playing good football there for Coach Dotson. Love to see that. Landrum playing great as well. A.J. Lindsay and group are playing good football. So a fun 2-0 matchup. glad to see both those teams doing well so far.
C.A. Johnson hosting Fairfield Central. Very good.
I got a DM about that game, actually. Walter Smith wanted to ask about C.A. Johnson, Fairfield Central. Two more teams that I feel like we don't know a lot about yet. C.A. Johnson, I did not have high hopes for this season. They've already got a win. They're playing good football, it feels like now. A big win over Branchville, who we thought was pretty good last week.
Yeah.
So Fairfield Central 1-1 as well. They lost a lot of pieces. Tadarian Greer moves on. Jaden Boyd transfers out. They get they beat a solid Union County team 35-0 last week. I think Fairfield Central wins this football game. I think it's a little more talent there right now for the Griffins.
They certainly should. American Leadership, they'll be at home against Clear Dot. Walhalla at home against Chesney. And last one in 2A, Eau Claire hosting Greenwood Christian. And I tell you what, I don't know who Eau Claire has played, but they're 2-0.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal for the Shamrocks.
Love to see that for Coach Simons and his group there. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on 2A. Timberland by 7, says Justin. Caden Ramsey going to commit this week. Yes, I saw that. I can't remember what day it is, but yeah, we'll try to make sure we post that when that happens. Great point there. Brandon Lamar, 28-21, says Dion, behind Zori Pierce. Fairfield Central, 31-15, says Dion. Ware Shoals also blowout win over Blacksburg. They did. Yeah, that group has been playing good football for Coach Dotson. A bit of a surprise, I would say, to me at least, how good they have looked. And I'm excited for that group, a program that, I tell you what, man, I love Ware Shoals. I love the Catfish Festival. I hope they play good all year long.
Yeah, give them a shout out, man. They snuck into the media, the prep poll this week. So I just want to give them a shout out. I think they snuck in at 10. So that's a big time for that program. But let's go to 1A, guys.
Look at the 1A ranks now, John.
Leading off 1A, we've got MacB hosting Latta.
A 2-0 Latta team. Big win over Marion last week. Coach Eisman's bunch is playing good football.
Calhoun Falls will be at home against Thornwell. We'll have, let's see, we got some repeats here. McCormick at home against, and this is a program that I have never heard of, Washington Wilkes. Got to be from Georgia.
Yeah, you're not high on the Washington Wilkes Tigers out of Washington, Georgia, John?
I like the logo.
They're 0-3. That ain't working.
The logo doesn't win you many games.
It does not. It does not.
Woodland will be at home against Bethune-Bowman. Branchville at home against Williston-Elko.
Branchville and WE both need wins here. A Branchville team, I think, or at least I thought, was a pretty good football team. I have not started off that way. I think they get a win this week. I think Williston-Elko is still trying to figure a couple things out there. I like Branchville in that matchup.
Me too. Allendale Fairfax at home against Great Falls. Somebody's going to get a win in this game, so that's great. St. John's at home against First Baptist. One of our Kona games of the week. We talked about this one, Batesburg-Leesville at home against Abbeville. Another big game here, Blackville-Hilda at home against 96. Blackville-Hilda, 0-2 team. I think they get off that this week and get the W Friday night.
I would like to think so. It's a tough place to play down there in Blackville-Hilda. So the Fighting Hawks got a good chance, I think, to win that one.
Baptist Hill will be at home against North Charleston. And that closes out our 1A slate as well.
Any comments, Jerel, from you or the chat on 1A? Latta by 21, says Justin Burns. I think so, too. I think MacB is a little bit down this year. I like that Vikings team a lot.
Let's run through SCISA, guys.
Actually, I want to ask one game. We mentioned it earlier. Carver's Bay against Andrews. Carver's Bay team that has got wins now over Walkmall and Kingstree. Two teams I think are pretty good. I mean, how good is that group, guys? Are you sold on? I know Andrews has only played one game so far. They had a nice win over Georgetown so far. Another rivalry game there, kind of Georgetown County with Carver's Bay and Andrews going at it. Can Carver's Bay go to 3-0? That's a team that I'm very high on.
I think so. This week, I think they do it.
Jerel, comments from you on Carver's Bay? Nothing?
No, I think we had them team of the week, didn't we, last week?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So yeah, Carver's Bay, man. I think they go to 3-0. I like that. I like that team. I like the trajectory there. And you said Andrews. I mean, they got a lot to replace there. A lot of production missing from last year's squad. So give me Carver's Bay in this one.
Perfect. Well, John, let's look down at the SCISA slate now.
Kicking it off with SCISA, we got Christ School hosting Cardinal Newman. Andrew Jackson Academy will be at Colleton Prep. Lawrence Manning hosting Northwood Academy.
It's a big game for Lawrence Manning there. They lost a tough one 14-7 to Heathwood last week. Northwood has looked really good so far there for Coach Waters. We'll learn a lot about Lawrence Manning, just how good they are under Coach Noonan here on Friday night.
Wardlaw Academy will travel to Newberry Academy. Bethesda Academy at John Paul II.
Bethesda, a big win over Hilton Head Christian last week. Blew those guys out. Jordan Cheever, a big game there. That was kind of a surprise how that one went. I think they're a good football team. They're back and poised for a big run.
Cathedral Academy will go to Cross. Now, that's not the Cross in 1A that we know and love.
Doubleheader.
Yeah. Let's play two. Dorchester Academy will be at home against Hilton Head Prep. Ran into a Dorchester fan on Saturday, so that was good to have a little conversation with him. Good to see some SCISA fans out and about.
And the Raiders, I mean, they got a good program. John Wessel at running back is a stud there. I think they've got a really good chance to make a deep run. I think they beat Hilton Head Prep on Friday.
Trinity Collegiate will travel to Pinewood. Dillon Christian on the road against Carolina Academy. King Academy going to Richard Wynn.
A big 8-man game here. King, Joseph Morse, and Elijah Hutto have done really well on offense for them. A freshman defensive player, Jacob Bussey, I like him a lot. I think King's the better football team. I think King wins this one.
Calhoun Academy will host Thomas Sumter. Heathwood Hall on the road against Florence Christian.
2-0 teams here to play in good football. Coach Minton at Florence Christian, Coach Zimmerman at Heathwood Hall have their groups playing really high level right now. I think Heathwood Hall wins this game. I like what Belk and those guys bring to the table there for Coach Zimmerman.
I do too. Holly Hill Academy, they will be hosting Kings Academy. Williamsburg, they'll be on the road against Clarendon Hall. Beaufort Academy will travel to Patrick Henry Academy. Orangeburg Prep on the road against Thomas Hayward.
You get two of the better players in SCISA in this matchup. Orangeburg Prep tight end Tilden Riley, a Vanderbilt commit, and you get Tony O'Banner at Thomas Hayward, a big-time recruit as well. Thomas Hayward, a surprising 30-13 loss to Colleton Prep last week. Kind of caught me off guard there. I'm trying to see how they bounce back from that.
Yeah, they certainly need a better game Friday than what they had last week. Jefferson Davis at home against Palmetto Christian. Lawrence Academy on the road against Christian Academy. Spartanburg Christian at home against Camden Military. Wilson Hall at home against Ben Lippen. And Arcona game of the week for SCISA, Hammond on the road against Porter-Gaud down in Charleston.
A fun SCISA slate as well this week. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on the SCISA front? Heathwood by 7, says Justin Burns.
That is all that we have on SCISA as far as commentary.
Well, Jerel, let's shout out a couple friends of the program. Come back with our pick'em, our polls, and other portions of the show.
Everyday life means everyday expenses. Spend smarter with the Founders Federal Credit Union credit card, offering you low rates and big rewards where it matters most. Enjoy all the benefits of saving while using your Founders Essential MasterCard. Make every swipe and tap count with smart rates, big rewards on select cards, and no balance transfer or annual fees. Because your money should go where you want it to. That's the power of Founders Federal Credit Union. Apply today at foundersfcu.com. Relax. You're with Founders.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. Our Pick'em is brought to you by Hannah Engineering. If you guys are not a part of this, you need to join. We do it each and every week. We post it on our social pages, send out an email as well. Our Week 2 Pick'em just went live this morning. And just a heads up, we got a couple pop-up prizes ready for you guys, too, throughout the season. So make sure you do it each week as well. In Week 1, we had a 4-way tie for first at 10 with A-Rob, 18 Race, Jason S., Jesse, and Wayne B., all with a 10 spot. A bunch of 9s in there as well. John, we were kind of lagging behind a little bit. John had an 8 to lead our group, and Jerel and I both had 7 here in Week 1. A tough slate. And honestly, when I was watching the scores Friday night, I was like, man, I'm lucky to get 7 because there's a lot of surprises, it felt like, back in Week 1. But as always, guys, join that. It's on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page. Email is sent out. Be a part of that. It gives you a great reason to pay attention to teams outside of your region, outside of your own guys to watch, keep up with us. So it's a lot of fun to join, and hope you guys will continue to do that all season long. I believe a little birdie told me we may have our polls coming out next week. Is that right, John? Is that right, Jerel? Our Moving the Chains polls. And we always talk about how we don't agree with the other polls out there. So we do our own. And that'll come out, I think, next week. Jerel, can you confirm that? You
Confirm.
You run
100%.
the polls for us, so you confirm it.
100%. Polls will be out next week. So, yeah, week earlier than normal, too. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I am, too. We just got fed up, Rob. We got to drop these now. Got to drop them now. But our polls will come out, brought to you by First Team Sports. Shout out to our teams of the week, brought to you by Preferred Home Services. Scotts Branch, John, they beat Manning for the first time in over 60 years last Friday. I love that for that Eagles program, man. That is a great win for them. We also had South Florence, mentioned them, the big win on the road at Somerville, and then Greenville with a bounce-back shutout against Riverside. Our players of the week, we had Calvin Walford at Crestwood, Gray Gunter at Gilbert, and Cameron Vance at Northwestern, all insured by the George Agency. Shout out to our players of the week, guys. Feel free to send us nominees. I put out that post on Saturday on Twitter and on Facebook, but if you see a great stat line, send it to us. It's always like, hey, I post the nominees that come into us on Monday, and I get 14 more comments. Where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? You got to send them to us. I don't see everybody. You got to send it to us in. So send us the DMs ahead of time. Justin says, how do I enter the pick'em? Justin, go to our Facebook page or our Twitter page, either one. Scroll down a little bit. We posted it this morning, I think around 8 o'clock. It'll have the link to where to enter it. Justin, love to have you do that. Go check us out on social media. You can enter the pick'em each and every week. I tie with Kevin and Jerel. Thank you, Chris. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't know.
sounds like Chris stunk it up this week. That's what I'm reading in that comment.
That's great. That's great. As always, like I just mentioned to Justin, make sure you follow us on all social media. We have a lot of stuff that goes out on a couple platforms, about all platforms. So make sure you follow us everywhere: Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all that jazz at Movin Chains. Our website, movinchains.com. Guys, we have a message board as well on our website. If you want to talk some trash on there, feel free to get that going. Love to see that started up there. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do our weekly preview show, 7:15 on Tuesday nights. Join us on Facebook and YouTube. Come in and talk with us too, man. It makes a lot more fun when you guys engage with us and give us your thoughts. We'll have our coach interviews, food review Fridays, players of the week, teams of the week, stock up, all kinds of great stuff coming out throughout the weeks as well. So make sure you join all of that. Jerel, any other comments from the chat? Oh, yeah, we'll go to the merch first. Great call on the merch. The merch. Moving the Chain stickers. Order yours today. Stick it on your cup, your car, your laptop, whatever. Get your toboggans, I like to call them here. John says woolly hats. I say toboggans, whatever. Gray, black, whatever you want there. Some great T-shirts, a navy blue T-shirt, a gray T-shirt, a black T-shirt, a pink T-shirt. Order yours today. You can email us, info@movinchains.com. or DM us on social media. Great hoodies as well. 2 different colorways of that. Really high quality stuff. Logo front and back. Make sure you order that and support the boys. Love to see more merch out at the games, and the hats as well. Richardson hats. We got a gray front one, a black front one. You can check it out on our social pages. It's posted as well. Support the boys. Help us make this program better and better. I knocked my sheet somewhere way across the room, so hope I'm done with everything. I don't know. Tony says, where are you going Friday? Which games? Looking like Berkeley at Somerville, Tony. Should be a fun matchup down in Low Country, down at John McKissick Field. Have not seen a game there. I've been to the stadium to look around. Have not been to a game. Excited to check that one out. Should be a lot of fun this Friday. Jerel, any other comments from the chat or from you as we wrap up here our Week 2 preview show?
Yeah, man, it's going to be a fantastic. I mean, you guys opened it up with the show here. Got a lot of rivalry games, getting into region play already, which is nuts to think about. I know somebody was commenting. That region in particular, I think they have 8 teams in that one.
It's a lot, yeah.
That's why there's
8
to region play so early. But it should be some fantastic environment, some fantastic games that we're going to see. Hopefully some better hot dogs than what you can get at Camden. So you guys have a lot of fun. Go support your local team, even if you're on a bye this week. I know we're running into some byes after playing week 0. Go see somebody else. Go check a SCISA game out. And I always say this, go subscribe to our YouTube. All of our other socials do really well, but go just hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Really would appreciate it.
We've got Clemson playing 3:30, South Carolina at 7. So no excuses. You can go to a game, get home, not be tired for an early kick. You got plenty of time for that. So get out and support your local school. even if they're not local, make a little drive. Go to. There's a good ball game somewhere across the state this week, man. There's a lot of great ones. John, any final thoughts from you here on week 2?
Yeah, just echoing what you and Jerel are saying. Go out, go to a game, and hey, that barbecue place you haven't tried yet, that kind of hole in the wall place a few towns over you haven't been to in a while, go make a whole day of it. Go get something to eat. Go eat somewhere good, and then go hit up the game. You got plenty of time to do it. Plenty of time to get back home. Good football all around the state this week, and good matchups, rivalries, a lot of good pageantry here in week 2 as well.
No doubt about it. I hope to see you guys at a game on Friday. If you do, come up and say hello. Jerel and I met some nice folks at Burns last week. Ryan Wilson, a couple other guys as well. Like John, you said, we talked to some nice Dorchester folks on Saturday at the Clemson game. So if you see us out, come say hello, man. I'd love to talk some ball with you guys.
We didn't get into it, man, but what an environment at Nixon Field. I mean, yeah. I personally do it. 5A environments, 4A environments not are always the best, but we saw a scene at the new Nixon Field for a fantastic game between Irmo and Burns. I mean, that home side was completely packed. Mm-hmm. That stadium was beautiful. Great hospitality there. Obviously didn't come out in favor of the Rebels, but I was so impressed with that community of Duncan coming out and supporting those boys on Friday.
Yeah, that place is super nice. Well-deserved, a program that has had a lot of good football teams over the years. And it was time for a new stadium, and they did it right. It looks really nice over there. So I enjoy getting to check that one out. A shout-out to Coach Howard and the team there at Burns that hooked us up with some passes. So certainly enjoyed that. Looking forward to checking out Somerville this week. So a lot of fun down there. If you guys have some food recommendations, let me know. I'll be heading down to Somerville on Friday. Might stop somewhere, get a little barbecue on the way down. We shall see. Looking forward to making the trip down there to check out the Stags and the Green Wave. But for Jerel Hendricks and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. Moving the Chains is always brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. This has been our Week 2 preview show. We will catch you guys next week.
Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin The Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.